All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, June 11th. Couple of quick sound checks here. We'll get jumping on in. Good morning, Mirza, Peter, Lorna, Eric, Art, Miss Debbie. All right, guys. Happy Wednesday. So for the futures here, little pop on the. Let me get my drawing tool. Little pop here on the CPI data, and then for the NQ, you have really nice 4-hour squeeze setting up, getting through last week's highs, and we're only about. Let me see. We're not too far from the previous all-time high. We are about. Yeah, call it about 2% shy of the all-time high. So I think the $1 million question is with a 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour squeeze, all of which have that white arrow. I got it on the 4, got it on the 2, and got it on the hourly. $1 million question: can they take these squeezes and kick off that path back into 22,450-ish? For now, the signals imply that might be the path forward. Good looking squeeze action. You have a big 3 buy signal across every time frame, but the bulls could always drop the ball. For now, signals are bullish in then S&P futures. All right, through last week's high with a daily 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour squeeze. Buy signals on the daily 4-hour, 2-hour down to the 5-minute. And then we got the all-time high up around 6170 ES, and that's about 1.5% to 2% above the current price. So good-looking squeeze action there. And then for the cash indexes, we have a daily 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute on the QQQ. We have a daily 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30, 15-minute on the Big 10 basket. S&Ps have a 1-hour, 30, 15, and the Dow Jones with a 1-hour, 30-minute, 15-minute. So again, a lot of good-looking squeeze setups. All right, cash S&Ps on the hourly. Should be a little gap up here. But all-time highs on the cash are back up around, let's see, 6150-ish, called it. And that'd be 2% above the current price. So like all things in trading, no promise or guarantee they have to break it out. But I think if they want it, they can go and get it. Maybe not today necessarily, but today, tomorrow, into Friday. They've got the buy signals, they got the squeezes. Now we shall see if they drop the ball. But all right, all that out of the way here. Go checking out some rankings on the spreadsheet. And things remain really, really bullish. We got the indexes at a collective 82% of their best score, which we haven't seen that since January, February. Big 10 basket at 63%, the sectors at 68%. And looking down here for the first time in a while, every sector's got a positive score. Now, I'm not in a huge rush to buy a healthcare, energy, biotech, but they're all positive. And then for the Big 10 basket, it's very interesting how strong the QQQ is with a weak Apple. Apple's down here with a score of negative 29. And you got the Teslas, the Netflixes, TSM is really strong, Meta. Meta may be looking for an all-time high. Nvidia, big call wall up there at 150. Microsoft at a new all-time high, and then Amazon and the Google. There's a really nice monthly squeeze there for Google. But a few things I'm looking at would be Visa, Palantir. I guess I like Palantir so much I got it twice. Visa, Palantir, AT&T, Bitcoin, Nvidia, Shopify, Google. Let me change Palantir number 2 for Meta. Quick swap there. All right, so for a few of these. Now, where's JP Morgan? Got to have the JP on the focus list. We're long JP. Oops. All right, a little bit more like it. So for a few of these, I think we talked about JP Morgan back on Monday. And we went and bought it on Monday. Got the 1 hour squeeze breaking long. And then daily squeeze, perfect score of 15, the white arrows. Now the call ball's up here at 270. The call ball and the short term swing high. Looking like we're going to open up right on top of 270, or a little bit below it. So for those of you in my room, for the sake of our trade, if they can get it and keep it above that 270, should open the door for a path into 275, 280. That's pretty much where we're trying to take that profit. Catch your squeeze buy at your 21 EMA. Catch a push towards that 2.5 to third ATR, cash out, and you keep it moving. But they got to get through that 270 first. So we are long some JP Morgan and then Palantir with a daily 30-minute and a 5-minute squeeze. The 30-minute did get the white arrow. All the bells and whistles. And then as far as our daily squeeze, if they can get these MACD bars back above zero, looking at it right now, you got really good trend, really good structure. The EMAs are stacked positively, 21 above the 50, etc. Momentum, little bit below zero. So in most cases, if they can keep good trend and good structure, and all the while they're working that daily squeeze, if they can go and then get momentum back on the buy side, bars back above zero, that label goes green. Could make for a decent breakout, nice push towards 140, 145-ish. But we've seen plenty of examples of the opposite where, kind of like the Bitcoin futures and back here. You got a big daily squeeze setting up. The structure is really bullish. The trend's really bullish. But from the get-go, you're lacking momentum. MACD bars below zero. They pop it, they pull it back, they pop it. Failed breakout, failed breakout, failed breakout. They never get that positive shift. Eventually, the squeeze says, all right, I got to go and fire. If you bulls can't get momentum, I'm going to go ahead and just fire short. Then they take it and they fire the thing counter trend. So again, for Palantir, if they can get that momentum kick, I like it for a breakout. And then you got names out there like Visa and MasterCard. A lot of the bank financial names. So Visa's got a weekly squeeze. It had a daily, but it fired. Good looking weekly squeeze. Here's MasterCard. The daily squeeze did fire, but they have a 4-hour, a 2, and an Uno. 4-hour squeeze needs momentum, and the 2-hour squeeze looking pretty sharp. So Visa's pretty clean. MasterCard's pretty clean. Again, a few more of the bank stocks. You've got Capital One. You've got the Citigroup daily squeeze here for Wells Fargo. BAC, not too shabby. Again, we went with JP Morgan. But as far as the XLF itself, the financial mothership, this one has a daily 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, and a 15-minute squeeze. And that translates to its fix and the bust and move. We got to figure out, will that be a move into 52, 50, 53-ish, or will that be a move back down into 50, 49-ish? And if they can take the 5-minute time frame, the 15, the 30, the hourly, all the above, and, for my sake, give them buy signals, decent indication they should try to fire to the upside. But right now, your 4-hour chart's neutral. Blue on the 2-hour, the hourly. Got to get a little bit more color. But we're long JP Morgan, watching the financials, and then for a few of these big tech big boys, I think we covered it back on Monday. Again, it's a bigger picture idea, but the monthly squeeze here for Google, I think super clean. But more importantly, it offers a really good risk reward. You buy it around 178, 180. And for the sake of that monthly squeeze trying to fire long, the idea is a little bit invalid if they go and break it back below the 21 EMA. So I can buy the thing around maybe $1.78. I'm leaning towards being wrong back down around 160. So I'm going to round up. I'll take on maybe 20 points of risk in exchange for if the squeeze can head back towards the highs, break out and fire. I think Google becomes a 225, 230 plus dollar stock. So I'm risking about 20 points in change to maybe catch about 40, 50 points in change. You do your call butterfly, you buy your calls, whatever the options trade might be. I think the major key is give it plenty of time till expiration, and then don't babysit the idea. If Google goes and gets a 5-minute and a 15-minute sell signal today, doesn't change too much about that monthly squeeze. So again, bigger picture idea, bigger time frame idea, but these can definitely pack a punch. That one takes Google from 120ish to 190ish. There's a 55, 60% rally. And now here's the key in the short term. If they're going to work towards a point where they could fire that monthly squeeze long, we got to have good looking weekly charts, good looking daily charts, the alignment from the ground up. And Google gets a little bonus point here for the first daily buy signal since, I think, January. Early February. So watching that one, I'm thinking for me, it's a 200 call for December expiration. Do it in a different account size to accept max loss. You let the bad boy rock. And then you got another one here for Microsoft. Monthly squeeze, white arrow, got one in the XLK. And then you got one here for the semiconductors. So a few monthly squeezes, and then shorter term would be NVIDIA on the 2-hour, 1 hour, and the 30. Stock trades 145 at the open and a call wall at 150. So to me, a great trade here would be I get a white hour on the hourly squeeze, or a white arrow on the hourly squeeze, and then maybe trying to take that signal playing for a push towards that call wall. That might be better served as an idea for next week. I mean, if you're feeling frisky, maybe a 150 call fly for Friday. $4 expected move for Friday and a $7 expected move for next Friday. But you can go and grab, you could look even 3 weeks out. You could grab July 3rd, rather. You could grab a pre-Independence Day expiration, 150 call. There's a paycheck in there somewhere. So I'm going to wait for a white arrow on the NVIDIA hourly and then Meta. Where's all-time highs for the Meta? Up yonder at 740. And then Meta's got a call wall at 700, which might be a little sticky into this week's expiration. Maybe a $700 pin. But could Meta be the next name trying to gear up for a path into an all-time high? It could. Here's the kicker. I think there could still be a path back into the all-time high if they pull it back into 660-ish. 660, 650. We've rallied a good 45, 50% off the bottom. We're up here at the third ATR extension. It'd be very normal, healthy, typical ebb and flow. They pump it, pull back to the rising 21 EMA, and then maybe chop it for a bit, print a 4-hour squeeze, get a new daily squeeze. And that, I think, can make for a great spot to buy it and then play for an all-time high. Or they might say, to heck with all of that. We're going to gap it up and we're going to go for it. Speaking of ebb and flow, kind of like Netflix. The last time Netflix was at its daily 21 EMA, it was a $930 stock back here in May, back in April rather. All right, and you're pushing, beast mode. Here goes Netflix, pull back, big push, 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 and now you're down a bit off the highs. It's for now a healthy kickback to your rising 21. And pretty impressive. They can take it up to the tune of 35% before having to get that pullback. So watching Meta, and then they got the Microsoft monthly squeeze. A few squeezes here for Apple. Not in a giant rush to buy Apple, but yeah, that is the bulk of it, my good friends. J.P. Morgan, Palantir, a few of the bank stocks. I think we got a decent gap up coming here for Tesla. I would call 335 a decent gap up. All right, you got the Twitter battle, the breakdown of the Twitter battle, and now the pop here makes it feel a little bit bear trappy. Big breakdown, big Twitter feud, breaking the 200 SMA, breaking the 50. Anybody jumping in getting short on that flush. If they're still short, not having too good of a time here. So it feels a little trappy. But all right, folks, any questions for me? Any chart requests? Anything you want to look at? Drop it in the chat, and I shall take a look. One more thing for you: the daily squeeze here in the Bitcoin futures. New squeeze, white arrow. And I maybe want to buy it on a 1 hour or a 30. The hourly or the dirty 30. But no white arrow just yet. Yeah, Joseph, for Tesla, I think if you've got it into the open, great. $10 gap up is a great thing to wake up to. I'm not currently long Tesla, so my thinking is a little bit more. You had the flush, you took out a few key levels, now you're getting that big pop. Putting the call the knee-jerk reaction aside, my thinking would be today, tomorrow, Friday, into next week. Can they keep price above that daily 21 EMA? If this is a flush, a pop back above, and a break back below, they might take it right back down towards those recent lows. If this is a flush it, pop it, and hold the ground, then I think it puts Tesla back in, back in much better standing. Then they can rebuild, they can stabilize, they can go and get a 30-minute buy trigger, hourly, 2-hour, 4-hour. And then maybe in more of a sustainable fashion, begin to rally back up towards those highs. So to me, the over-under would be 320, 325-ish. And if they can keep it above that 320, 325-ish, then it's a matter of where can I buy it? 15-minute squeeze, 30-minute hourly, all the above. But yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. And yeah, Palantir going to go for it today. They got to break that 135-ish. Then I think they can go for it, which might be the call ball. Let's go take a gander. Palantir call ball 140, actually. Hmm. So, yeah, 140 call ball. Whoops. All right, big magnetic level, and now 135, the short-term high. So yeah, in most cases would look like a breakthrough 135, followed by a pretty quick path in the 140. But the key is first, can they get it and keep it above that 135? Tis the $1 billion question. And we're about 5% off that 140. But Palantir is also the kind of name that can go up or down 5% before lunchtime. But yeah, fire the 30-minute squeeze long, take out the 135. Then they might be free to roam about the cabin. All right, quick peek here at the futures NQ. A little bit off the pre-market high. And then S&P's off of the pre-market high. But not a huge give back. No dropping of the ball just yet. No, Alan, I've got no Palantir for now. Although that 30-minute at the close. End of day 15-minute, end of day 30-minute. It's a nice combo for an end of day entry. And you've got the overnight risk, of course. But they can make for nice continuation at the open. Yeah, put a couple of chart alerts around 134-ish, 135-ish. She gets going, she gets going. And then, yeah, I would agree. TEM. I want to say Allison's trading TEM. Allison, Melissa, few folks here in the room. What do we got? What do we got? Yeah, I do like that daily squeeze. And then what about the 30? Yeah, nice little pattern trying to play out. 30-minute squeeze, white arrow, pop it. Chop, chop, chop. 30-minute squeeze, white arrow. Perhaps they go and pop it again. Yeah, it's pretty clean. You got a big 3 buy signal on the daily chart all the way down to the 5-minute. So that means you got squeezes and alignment. Enrique, is Bitcoin a good choice to trade but not future? Yeah, so I do like trading the Bitcoin futures. And when I do that through the MBT. But that being said, a few alternatives could be something like an IBIT, IBIT. That should generally track the Bitcoin futures. There's GBTC. That should generally track the Bitcoin futures. You could look at a MicroStrategy, look at a coin. They got their own thing going on, but also pretty heavily correlated. Yeah, you got IBIT, you've got Coinbase's, MicroStrategies, GBTCs. And I'm sure there's a few more out there I'm not too familiar with. But for me, it'd be an MBT thing, or maybe one of these crypto-related names. I tell you what, coin's pretty interesting here. All right, on top of the daily 21, two 45-ish buy zone, daily 4 hour, 2 hour, hourly 30-minute, 15-minute squeeze. So it's a bunch of compression on your launching pad. Rocket might want to go and take off. Let's go look at the hourly. Yeah, that could be on the board for a trade. What I would like to see would be a 15-minute buy trigger, 5-minute, 30-minute, 2 hour. And then the real deal would be the 4 hour chart. All right, gap it up, push, 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 and chopping, chopping. 4 hour squeeze, good structure. Got to get that big momentum shift. But the hourly for coin is looking pretty snazzy, if I do say so myself. What would a 250? Let me see. Not the sexiest idea, but I'm thinking maybe a 250 put credit spread, which might might guarantee it breaks out in a substantial fashion. Seems to be a pattern of if I do a put credit spread, um, especially on Tesla. If you guys ever see me do a put credit spread for Tesla, go buy a Delta 10 call. Big pop around the corner. All right, a few more here, guys. Rocky's got Verizon and ABT. Yeah, I think Verizon ranks out pretty good here, if memory serves me correct. I thought I saw a Verizon. There you go. 88% of your best score. We can work with that. And Verizon has a weekly squeeze, a 3-day squeeze, a 2-day, a daily, and a 4 hour squeeze. Squeeze fest. And then weekly chart with a buy trigger. 3-day squeeze even better. Buy trigger and a white arrow. Daily squeeze needs daily chart's almost there. A minus. And then the 4 hour chart. Yeah, it's a nice 4 hour squeeze. Momentum turn, white arrow, perfect score. Yeah, Verizon's pretty solid here. One quick observation. You've had a lot of chop going back to about early April. And ever since early April, your daily momentum continues to trade below zero. You don't have a huge structure issue. You don't have a huge trend issue. Uh, you've got no compression issue. It's a daily squeeze from from back here in early March. It's a little bit abnormal, if anything. What you've had and continue to have is a momentum issue. They pop it, no momentum turn, right back down. They pop it, no momentum turn, right back down. And again and again and again. That's keeping us from getting the oomph. But your 4 hour squeeze can maybe get the oomph going for you. It's a nice one. Okay, and then AB to the T. And then folks in my room, folks here in the main room, I'll be taking you through the open. All right, ABT, weekly, 3-day, 2-day, daily, 4 hour, 2 hour squeeze. All right, weekly, solid. 4 hour chart, solid. Yeah, I like it. I really like the 2 hour squeeze, but that's pretty clean. The benefit, guys, of these multi-squeeze setups, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squeezes all setting up at the same time, it's that domino effect. They fire the 2-hour squeeze. That can take you a few points higher. But as they fire that 2-hour squeeze, they might go and trigger the 4-hour. All right, now the 4-hour gets going. That can take you a few more points higher. They might then go trigger the daily squeeze, trigger the 2-day, trigger the 3-day. One good example that comes to mind was Apple on the weekly chart from last year. Now, the star of the show back there was the weekly squeeze, but you had a 2-day squeeze inside of it. You had a daily squeeze, a 4-hour. One fires, then the other, then the other. And then I think Eric in my room, I think he caught. It might have been TEM. Yeah. So Eric in my room caught TEM. Here's a great example of that lower time frame nested squeeze. 1-hour squeeze, white arrow. 30-minute squeeze, white arrow. 15-minute squeeze, white arrow. Wait, there's more. 5-minute squeeze, white arrow. 5-minute squeeze fires, gets the push going, wakes up your 15-minute. 15-minute squeeze says, all right, let's go for a little bit more. They go for a little bit more. They wake up the 30-minute squeeze. Right, that gives you more of a push. They go get the hourly. That gives you more of a push. You can find great trades on one squeeze. Don't get me wrong. But if one is good, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that much better. So I like to find that on the futures or the cash markets into the open, which we have a lot of here at the open. S&P futures, a 1-hour, 30, and a 15. So I'll maybe first watch the 15-minute. QQQ futures, a 2-hour and an hourly. The YM with a 2-hour 135. Cash QQQ 2-hour 130. S&Ps, Dow Jones. The more and the merrier. And then JR. So great question there. Stay tuned. I don't know the exact date, so I can't say too much, but there should be a webinar coming up here in my short-term future, during which I'll talk about yearly P&L, all those fun things. But in terms of my running track record, let me grab my spreadsheet for you, if I could find it. Yeah, don't go telling anybody, but there might be a webinar on in my near distant future. All right, there's a link for the spreadsheet. All right, put that in the chat for you. But all right, guys, I got a jet. Got to take the folks in the main room through the open. And then I'm pretty sure JC's teaching a momentum class today. So I'll be in the building for that. But otherwise, guys, thank you again. As always, hope you found it helpful. And yeah, if I could give you one thing to watch here into the open, it would be as a good gauge of direction, call it your compass. I would give you the QQQ futures 1-hour squeeze. And then I would give you the S&P futures 1-hour, 30-minute, 15-minute. But from a progression standpoint, watch your 15-minute first. But thank y'all again. Back with you on Monday, and we'll talk then. Adios.